Hello again. No, Spencer is not yet back, unfortunately but I have reason to believe that maybe within the next 2 to 3 days, hopefully by the end of the week, that will change for the better. So I thought that I would go ahead and use this momentous occasion to appropriately propound the awareness of post-combat stress disorder. Now, it's obviously kind of a more specific take on general post-traumatic stress disorder. However, it's just a little bit more specifically tailored towards service members who are kind of constantly struggling with the realities of combat and war zone terrain years sometimes after having come home. Symptoms are unfortunately greater than the efforts and the kind of resources that soldiers and other service members are able to kind of take advantage of to cope. And the symptoms include, but are not limited to, definitely, isolation, where the person will just kind of reject kinship at all costs, just kind of regard to themselves as an undeserving pariah, which kind of flows into another symptom of kind of like survival guilt and alienation. Rage is a little bit more of a physical symptom, where soldiers will just kind of lash out, strike out on their peers and sometimes spouses on a really, really large and violent scale, just to kind of try and cope with a lot of pent-up and really overlooked stresses that they're kind of silently dealing with on their own. And obviously, there's a lot of different instances where people who have been in a combat zone will kind of react to things in a more homebound situation in the exact same way or manner that they would in combat. Like, sometimes it's as simple as children playing in the street and balls are thrown in front of them, and sometimes that triggers memories of maybe grenades being launched, and so that'll just kind of create a definite tensing, and the reaction is unfortunately a lot more drastic than it needs to be. Now obviously this kind of dates all the way back to post-Vietnam era. People returning from a combat zone will kind of always be haunted by the harrowing memories of being in such a terrain, and that will oftentimes kind of pervade into their dreams, their daily thoughts. They'll often kind of muse on it a lot more than they really should. And then a lot of times human resource-esque programs will be integrated on base for these people, but a little bit more hands-on approach is being taken recently, especially in bases like Germany, when soldiers are coming back. And that's just kind of a reintegration program generally focused on classes that are often referred to as the How Not to Beat Your Wife classes, which just are kind of a general encapsulation of how to cope, addressing possible scenarios, hypothetical scenarios, and just kind of trying to alleviate as much of the personal strain that these people can feel coming back. And the most simplistic remedy for any of this is public mindfulness and awareness of what a lot of soldiers and airmen and Marines are dealing with when they come back from a war zone. And that's always oftentimes kind of not necessarily taken advantage of by the service member themselves because of that isolation complex, but it's always a subconscious advantage, and it's always something that, while not necessarily actively participated in, always kind of helps to start to trigger a little bit more balance, a little bit more homeostasis. So look forward to another Spencer post in a fortnight.